I was thinking about this Chat GPT thing that I
Yes.
decided, and I'm conflicted because I'm like, if we're not in it, then it's going to oppress us because it's getting smarter. And if it's only being fed by oppressive people who are afraid and tiny and just born in lack, eventually the machine is going to turn and it's going to do the thing. So we have to be in it. But I was asking this question. I actually had a meeting this morning. I'm like, what does it look like to create this AI for ourselves, where it is fed by us, where it's nurtured by us, where it's loved by us, where the things that we put in comes out in a way that flourishes people? And because I know, playing with this thing, and I'm playing with it this weekend, I could feed it a bunch of misinformation and it will absolutely receive it and it will become gospel.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's scary.
It's very, and I understood your temptation, and really your rage, your righteous indignation to feed it a lie just to see how far it could go. But you knew that that was too much power, meaning that you have, and it has too much power to test what you already know is the case, which is that anything that reinforces the oppression of Black and brown people and others, poor people, but anything that reinforces that, there's a lot of money to get behind that. And so it is essential, which is what you were saying yesterday, and your guest and Renee, because again, I was in that conversation with you all. I was paying attention to it, and it's very easy for any of us to say, I'm not doing it. Like I'm not going to be a part of it. And yet, if there aren't people like you and me who are a part of the very organized structures that can harm people, and often have harmed our people, then who else is going to do it? So if not you, and if not me, then whom?
Well, yeah. And even beyond that, because I don't think people wake up wanting to be nefarious. I mean, I feel like there's a handful of people who just, rubbing their hands together and are just evil. But most people feel like, they're doing something for the greater good or for their own good. So they don't feel like, if I'm becoming richer and richer, that I'm hurting the world. This is the way to, this is the way it's always been. The robber barons are what made America great, robber barons. And I think about, as you were saying that, Microsoft wrote a check for $10 billion to this company that didn't exist before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Wrote a check. This is valuable. And I think about Elon Musk buying Twitter for 40-something billion dollars. And the reason why Twitter was valuable was Arab Spring, what was going on in China, the uprising there, Black Twitter, it's like what's happening in Iran. There's that our energy it's not anything unto itself. Twitter's not Twitter without the people that are there making it exciting, without pick the cereal that you're going to, which cereal is the best cereal? Who's the better basketball? Put your Mount Rushmore, all of the everyday best singers and all of that stuff, the conversations that we have with one another, but the community is us.
That's right.
And so we didn't get any of that $46 billion that Jack and them got, for making something that they couldn't do without us. Like this country. So Absolutely. I'm like, here we are again. We're at the precipice of a new world. Like, look at the parallels, because life is cycles, right? We're in a new world with people, things, or entities, whether we're talking about AI or something, this new thing that's, who's going to control it? Like gold, there's gold in them there hills. Are we going to go? We're going to prospect. Who gets there first? Who keeps digging? Who doesn't? And as I was sitting there yesterday and afterwards, because I had to sit in that, I realized we don't have any servers of any note that we can protect, because that's a whole other thing.
Yes, it is.
We don't have any bot farms.
Mhm.
We don't have any social media platforms, and I know Isaac Hayes III is doing one, but in the sense of with this kind of power, news outlets, yes, Roland Martin, you can call Urban View a news outlet, but I'm talking about federal, like the way Rupert Murdoch has a radio, TV, and all this. I know Byron Allen's doing stuff, but what are his intentions? Because we all know we went through the civil rights march with him, and he got checks. Did y'all get a check from Byron Allen when he settled with the government? I don't know, but I'm saying something right now in terms of the collective having ownership of our own intellectual property, not somebody profiting off of it, exchanging our intellectual property under the guise of, you can check this box called Black, give me your advertising dollars, and my money is not going to you. Now I'm gonna buy up all of this because I want to show them that I'm just as powerful, but it has nothing to do with building the future for our children. So as I thought about that chatbot, I'm like, we need to have a space where our kids can, because I know young people are using it for research papers and things. And as an educator, I'm like, go ahead, you can't cheat in my class. Good luck with that. But now maybe it's going to force us to actually get back to penmanship, because that was what, you used to get the ruler on the knuckles to be able to write clear enough so your teachers could read your handwriting. And my handwriting is horrible. I would fail miserably today, but maybe we need to get back to that, because there's something spiritual about physically writing on a piece of paper. Something maybe that's going to happen as a result of this. I don't know, but I know that we need to absolutely lean in. And for those of you who's like technology, even this conversation right now, you're tuning out because it's too much and I'm too old, or I don't understand it. So I'm just going to watch Cardi B because I don't understand this. You're doing us a disservice, because we need every single morsel of whatever it is that you were put here to do and whatever it is that you are to be involved in the making of the thing, because they are very intentional.
Karen, something else you said yesterday, and you're pointing in the direction today, has to do with our fear of how we shut down when we're overwhelmed. And you talked about it yesterday, like in terms of Tech Tuesday, and that people can say, like, I can't even add and divide. So how am I going to even have any meaningful participation in this? And this is exactly, whether it is in technology, whether it is in psychology, we often write ourselves out of our own stories. I've quoted this African proverb that says the lion's story will never be known as long as the hunter is the one to tell it. And so that's what we're talking about here, that we don't want other people telling our stories anymore. And yet many of us feel that we aren't capable and competent to tell our stories, whether it is to write a complete sentence or to ask a question that seems dumb, but the truth of the matter, and this as an educator, and I know it as an educator and psychologist and minister, is that there is no dumb question. And those questions that we're trying to ponder, or maybe the feeling of, this kind of blows my mind, and I leave the room when people start talking about, so it could be technology, again, it could be emotions. There are people who, as soon as we start talking about what happened with, Uncle Ray and how he, touched someone inappropriately again over the holiday, people are like, I just left the room. So I really want us to acknowledge the power and also the danger of being overwhelmed and having no safe place to own it.
Wow. Listen, I want to leave a lot of rooms, but I'm also grateful for people who push me beyond, my own limitations. Right. So I was like, this year I'm checking out. I'm not doing any slavery stuff. I'm not going to talk about race. This is how I started the year. I'm not talking about any of this stuff I can't do anything about. I can't change people's hearts and minds. So I'm going to lean into the joy. And then we're in Nubia, Dr. Carr. He says, we're doing this Africana Studies class. So I don't know why I thought that we were not going to. And the first book one of the first books is The Coming by Daniel Black. And I'm like, Are you kidding? So I almost didn't read it because I'm like, I can't do this. But it cracked something open in me that I'm like, wow, So I sat in it. I sat in it to the very last person, that very last person who was the trickster, who made sure that he was bought because he didn't want to go back by himself to sleep on that disgusting, nasty hay floor, to be the last person sold. He made sure he was bought. I'm not going to give away what happened, but I mean, through the rhythm, through the water, through all of that, I sat with it and something shifted and I see things differently. But I wouldn't have done that because I'm moving away. I'm running away from all of that. Dr. Robin Smith, I don't want to be in trauma. But we gotta embrace some of this trauma and to work through it. I don't know. I mean, this is your area.
Well, I was going to say,
walk us through it.
We don't have to. Let me change that. Many of us are trying. We don't have to do anything, as they say, but the saying was stay black and pay taxes. Some said just stay black because a lot of folk weren't paying taxes. So, but the truth of the matter is we don't have to do our work. We don't have to do the work of our soul. We don't have to do the work of what it means to be liberated, but there is a price. And people will often say the price of looking at things is too high. Malcolm X said that, Socrates said that the unexamined life is not worth living. And then Malcolm X came many years later and said, and the examined life is painful. And so the question is how we examine something that is painful so that we can live a life that is worthy of having been here.
And I'm sure Socrates got that from some Africans because none of that philosophy existed until he studied with them. I'm just like, even that, even going back to tell those stories to make sure that
that we're accurate in quoting the text.